Hi, everybody. Welcome to another week of Wrestling with Wrestling. I'm Steve, joined as always by my co-host, the great Doc Gregory, the best damn referee in all of independent wrestling.
Thank you, good sir. As always, I appreciate you calling me out like that, and I hate to say it, but I agree with you. Yeah, I am the best damn referee there is out there. At least on this side of the coast. Okay, so
That's
I
right.
can only compare. I can only compare to the people on this side of the coast, like penis size. I only can compare to the people who step up to the urinal with me, and I'm like,
Yeah,
got you, but all right, yeah, you got me.
yeah. There might be, there might be some referees like over there in Pro Wrestling Gorilla or something who are better than you, but for this area. Um, and if you don't believe me, just ask Doc because he'll tell you that he's the best.
Yes.
We have a shit ton of wrestling to talk about this week because not only was there a pay-per-view and Monday Night Raw, which we always talk about, but the NXT show last week was terrific. And instead of talking about a Legend of the Week this time around, we're going to take that time at the end of the show to talk about the Montreal Screwjob of 1997, one of the most infamous and important events probably in the last 15 or 20 years, and something that has reverberations that are still felt today. So instead of a legend, we're talking about the Montreal Screwjob. But first, we don't have to go through match by match necessarily, but I know you really liked the NXT show, the Takeover show,
Yes,
Doc,
it
and
did.
I got a chance to see it, I think, 2 days afterwards. I watched it on the on-demand section of the WWE Network, so I didn't see it live, but I caught up with it, and I thought it was a really good show. What did you think of it?
I for an NXT outing and supposed to be like the minor leagues to the WWE, I thought it stood on par with anything that the WWE has brought to me for many years on a pay-per-view. It was some phenomenal wrestling. You had Charlotte versus Natalya, a great women's wrestling match. You had Adrian Neville uh, versus Tyson Kidd, and those two guys went at it, and you can't take away from what they can do. Best match of the night, of course, Tyler Breeze versus Sami Zayn. That, to me, I could watch a ton and tons of times over and over again. It stands up there with just wanting to see Ricky Steamboat versus Macho Man. It was just something I could rewatch time and time again, just to see how fluid that was. It was just a beautiful laid out match. It was art.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, and the really big surprise to me in that one was Tyler Breeze,
Mm-hmm.
because not that I've not liked him, because I've really liked him in NXT so far, but I've known that Sami Zayn was great, like from the first time I saw him. I mean, he came in knowing how to work. He was El Generico and Ring of Honor for years, and he was good when he got there. But yeah, Tyler Breeze in that match, that was like, you know, his coming out party almost, like his debut. Like, see, I'm not just a gimmick, I can work too. And that was a really, really, really good match. I mean, I agree with you. That was definitely the match of the night, and I think I would say it was better than any of the matches on Payback. Uh, Even though I like Payback too, a lot of people online are kind of shitting on Payback. Some
Mm-hmm.
people liked it, but some people are like, I almost hesitate to say that the NXT show was better because that seems like that's really fashionable in the internet wrestling community to just like the NXT show more than the WWE show, because like, what does that say about the main roster if the trainees are putting on better shows than the main roster guys? But I think it was. I think when you look back at the NXT Takeover show, I mean, they had the women's match was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The number one contenders match with Sammy and Tyler was awesome. The main event with Adrian and Tyson Kidd was awesome. Those are three really, really strong matches on one show, and it was only a 2-hour show. I mean, that's a hell of a show.
Here's the
And
thing about the Charlotte and Natalia match. Now you had both representatives out there, and I had pointed this out how you had that match back in 1992 between Ric Flair and Bret the Hitman Hart when Bret beat him for the WWF title. This is when Flair was getting ready to leave, and they put the belt on. And I thought it was just weird that now you have another title up for grabs. Although it's Flair's daughter and a relative of Brett's, but Brett's there and Rick's there. Now, the thing about this match, which, like you said, it was great for, you don't get to see too many women's matches out there that both of them can hold their own in a match. It's usually one will carry the other a lot of times. Brett did exactly what he was supposed to do. He stood out there. He gave encouragement when it was needed. Rick, on the other hand, did what Rick does, and he, acted up and did his woos and all that on ringside, which I kind of looked at that as that's a no-no, because you don't take away from the attention that's going on in the ring, and you can easily do it because you're Ric Flair, so you shouldn't be doing that kind of shit, taken away from that. But he did break down like a little baby, like he always does. He's very emotional. He broke down and cried when Charlotte won the belt.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I've kind of joked about that before on the show. Like it's like nowadays, whenever Rick comes back to TV, like every time you see the guy, he's always crying, and it's like, stop making Ric Flair cry. But this time it was actually kind of justified. Like, I actually thought that little bit after the match almost made the match itself seem better. Because Brett was there and Rick was there, and they did like the good sportsman thing afterwards, where Natalya and Charlotte hugged, and then Charlotte hugged Brett and Natalya hugged Rick, and it was like they were all just really filled with accomplishment and pride because they had a really good match, and it makes it feel special. And I think that's one of the things about the NXT shows that I really liked about the last live special they did, Arrival, and this one did the same things, that they made the matches feel important in a way that the WWE shows really don't bother to do. I mean, I think a lot of it is when they do those sit-down interviews, like those video packages where the wrestlers are like sitting down and they're talking about the match, and they're in character. It's not like a shoot, but they're talking about it in a kind of a serious way. Like you would see a video package leading up to like a boxing match or an MMA fight. And I love that. And I would
like the press conference after Payback. If you watched the post Payback interviews where they were coming out and talking, and John Cena talked about his match with Bray Wyatt, and I was a little unnerved by it because it seemed like he was putting over the fact that it's entertainment, but he also was on top of that talking about how he had to do what he had to do.
Right. Yeah. And the thing about the NXT interviews is that they seem like they're talking about it. Like, kayfabe is maintained completely, They're like I love when Sami Zayn does his interviews, because Sami Zayn has lost so many high-profile matches, and he talks about that. He doesn't just say, well, me and Cesaro had a great match and we entertained the people. He also mentions that he lost the match and that bothers him, and he wants to make up for that. He wants to come back and get on a winning streak because he doesn't like losing the match. Like, losing the match matters to him because it's a real fight, because he's not a fake wrestler. He's a wrestler, and within the context of the show, it's all completely real, and that's how it should be, And it just the matches feel important, and I wasn't really that. I mean, I like Tyson Kidd a lot, and I think he should be doing a lot more than he is. But when they announced like Adrian Neville versus Tyson Kidd as the main event a few weeks ago, I was like, well, that's going to set the world on fire. Like, who fucking cares? Adrian Neville versus Tyson. I mean, I love Tyson Kidd, but he hasn't done anything. Like, who is he?
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. Those guys are going to go out there. They're going to give you a great match. So, if you look at it on paper, it looks like a great match. But the fact is, Tyson is bland. I mean, it's like you're wrapped a gold brick and shit. You can't get the shit off.
That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. But yeah, but on that show, they actually managed to make that seem like a significant match, and then the match itself was terrific. So their production, their presentation, everything is just amazing, and I really, really, really loved the Takeover show. I don't think it was quite as good as Arrival sheerly in terms of match quality, because that Sami Zayn versus Cesaro match on Arrival was just amazing. But it was still a really, really strong show, and I think overall probably a better show than Payback was.
I do think they need to start leaning more toward getting some other talent up there, because we need to stop on a weekly basis, or even at these shows, seeing Rusev over on NXT. We need to stop seeing Adam Rose over in NXT. We know we're not probably going to see Bo Dallas over there anymore.
Right. He actually lost a match.
Yeah. If Natalya's going to be at NXT, she should stay over there. she's there every week anyways. But it's like you need to decide whether you're going to be an NXT wrestler or because NXT to me was more special when you had, say, a wrestler come over from the main roster for a week. But now, kind of like it's meshed together a little bit. You need to go back to making NXT special by bringing that over, like you did originally. So I think that's something right now they need to work on is bringing up more stars and then letting the other ones go and do their thing in WWE. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I agree. I think especially with the guys who have just been called up, like the Adam Roses and the Rusevs, I think it's best for them to not be on NXT for a while. You know, not to say that they can never show up on NXT again, but just leave them, put them on Raw, put them on SmackDown, and just leave them off NXT for a long time, like they did with the Shield. You know, when they called the Shield up, the Shield came back maybe for 1 or 2 NXT shows so that Seth Rollins could drop the title because at the time he was still the NXT champion, and then after that they were gone. Like they've been on maybe 1 episode of NXT since they were called up and made it to the main roster. And same thing with the Wyatt family. You know, the Wyatts were the tag team champions in NXT. They got called up to Raw. They dropped the titles on like the next NXT taping cycle that they did, and then they've just not been there. You know, and they came back maybe once or twice in the last year, but they're not like constantly coming back and forth like Rusev or Adam Rose have been.
Or Big E.
Big E, yeah, yeah. So and you know, I mean, I think it should be treated like a territory. You know. Have one of the top guys come in, have Sheamus come down, or have Dolph Ziggler come down, or Cesaro, or, you know, and have them, you know, stick around, maybe work a program with one of the trainee guys for, you know, 2 or 3 weeks, and then they're gone, and then some other guy comes down, you know, but it can't be too porous, or else it starts to feel like it's all the same thing, and man, you don't want it to feel like it's all the same thing. That's the problem with Raw and SmackDown. Everything feels like it's all just the same shit. One of the things that makes NXT so fun and so cool is that it feels different. Mm-hmm. You know. Well, let's talk about Payback. Like I said, and I think you won the prediction pool, didn't you?
I think I might have squeaked out one.
Yeah.
I won.
Because they added a bunch of matches that we didn't call because they hadn't been booked when we did the show last week. So there were 3 matches on the show that we didn't call predictions for because they hadn't been officially announced. But I think you got 1 more right than I did. We both got the mask versus hair match right. I think we both got the U.S. title match wrong. We both got the Intercontinental title match right. You had called Cena for the Last Man Standing, and I had called Bray. We both got the Divas title match right, and then I think did you call Evolution or Shield?
I called the Shield.
Okay, then you got that right, and I got that one wrong. So you got me by 2.
Yeah, I went back and reviewed them right before the show. I was like, I got to know if I won or not.
Yeah, I knew that you won. I was pretty sure because I had called Evolution, and you had called the Shield, and the Shield won in the main event. So yeah, I thought Payback was a decent show. I really liked the U.S. title match, even though I didn't really call that result, but I thought it was a really good match from both guys. What did you think of Sheamus and Cesaro?
Yeah, I mean Sheamus is working hard, but I just don't care much for him as a champion right now. I mean, I think he just needs a new covering of paint on that gimmick and a new catchphrase because I don't care how many times you say it or how many times you think you drill it into the fans' heads. Just coming out and beating your chest and going, fella.
Yeah.
I that to me does not work. It has never worked for me. It was stupid.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I think I had the idea that maybe the reason why, because I thought for sure that Cesaro was gonna get the title because I mean he's so hot, and why would you, if you're not gonna have him win, why would you even put him in that match? Like, why would you, if you don't want to hurt Sheamus, that's fine, but don't have him wrestle Cesaro, you know. But maybe
but if you put him in that match and he beats Sheamus for the U.S. title, then how would it look if you put him in, say, Money in the Bank match where you don't know where the possibility is and you might need someone available without a belt to go for the world title?
Well, that's what That's what I was gonna say. Is that maybe the reason why they decided not to go with Cesaro in that match, or not to put the title on him, is because they're leaving him open for something bigger. You know, and I've heard rumors online, and who knows how true they are, but you know that Cesaro is the guy that has been penciled in to win Money in the Bank this year.
Mm-hmm.
Although if I were him, I would be worried about that, because on Raw last night we saw what happened to two previous Money in the Bank winners that are back down in the mid card doing nothing. So it's not as if Money in the Bank is like your shot to the main event. But yeah, I thought their match was good. Let me see what else happened on Payback. The Cody Rhodes Goldust storyline is kind of picking up again. They lost the match to Ryback, and Cody said that Goldust needs a better partner than him, so they're doing that again. They're going back to the breakup angle, although not in quite the way you might expect. They didn't like have a fight and break up. It's just Cody has like insecurity issues, I guess.
Yeah.
They keep
insecurities and fears lead to the dark side.
Exactly. You know, Dusty, I mean, he's too big for Yoda, but Dusty could be Jabba the Hutt. Maybe they could do something with that. Rusev versus Big E. Big E lost, but he got a little bit of offense before Rusev locked him in the camel clutch and tapped him out. Poor Big E.
Yeah, that match was way too quick for Big E's character to go down that. You know, he should have never went down that quick. It made him look weak. I don't care how big Rusev is, but Big E is just as big as Rusev. You should never made him look at least that weak. He's, you know, it just got pounded. It's like it really looked like one of those old Saturday morning shows when you woke up and they were just showcasing Doink the Clown and Virgil would be carted out.
Right. Well, you know, someone online brought up, and I hadn't actually noticed this, but now that I've had it pointed out to me, it seems really obvious. It's one of those things like we've been talking about. We talked about a few weeks ago about how like a lot of the unintentional, probably unintentional racism that's in the show. All the guys that Rusev has squashed so far have been black guys.
Mm-hmm.
He squashed Xavier Woods. He squashed R-Truth and Kofi, and now Big E. Like, he's just been running through the African Americans on the roster like crazy. And I'm sure that they're not doing that intentionally, but like the fact that they haven't noticed is a little troubling.
I'm just saying, you just wait, because when Darren Young comes back, you know how Russians feel against homosexuals, and he's black.
That's true. He's
going to get his ass whooped.
Lana's not going to be able to call Rusev off of him. Rusev is he's going to hope to get another fucking medal from Vladimir Putin by beating the shit out of Darren Young. Bo Dallas and Kofi Kingston were supposed to have a match on Payback, but it wound up not happening because Kane came out and attacked Kofi. Bo, of course, bailed and then came back after the beatdown and gave Kofi a little pep talk.
Mm-hmm.
Said all he has to do is keep Bo leaving. I kind of hated this. I mean, I understand that they wanted to give Kane something to do to make him look strong and remind us that he's there. But, I mean, Bo is a brand new guy, and Kofi is, you know, is constantly, seems like he's constantly just being jerked around. You know, I figured they could have at least let him have a match and then have Kane come out and smash him.
Well, I think it was thrown on to the card because they booked a little tiny storyline where Kofi goes on to Twitter and he kind of defends Daniel Bryan, and they're bullying him, so he automatically on the pre-show gets told he's going to be in a match tonight against Bo Dallas. And it's a good way to feature Bo Dallas on the pay-per-view without making him do anything. Plus, you're kind of paying homage toward Kane, who would have gotten a main event match on this card if Daniel Bryan wasn't injured. So
yeah.
It was kind of it actually played out. It did three things. Yeah, it gave Kane a spot on the show that he should have had. It developed more heat on the Authority storyline, and then of course you showcased Bo Dallas. So three things were done with one little match.
Right. Yeah. It's. I mean, I don't. It feels like, you know, when you have a new guy like Bo, you should at least. I mean, they had their match on Raw the next night, so I guess it's not that big of a deal. And I'm sure more people watched Raw than watched this pay-per-view. But next they had the Intercontinental title match. We both called that one right. Bad News Barrett beat RVD. I thought that was a decent match. I didn't think it was as good as the U.S. title match, but I didn't have anything to complain about with it.
RVD's not really giving us anything new. I mean, he's still spectacular, but it's just the same run-of-the-mill RVD, you know, that we've seen for years. He's just doing the same moves, and he has lost a little step, not too much that it's very noticeable, but a little bit of step, and I'm afraid that he's just one of those guys. He'll remain popular. The fans will always love him, but as far as wins go, it's irrelevant. And maybe he's on that track to know that I'm too old to be winning. Yeah, RVD's pretty cool. Maybe he just realized that he's too old to be winning any titles, but he could be there collecting a big check, staying relevant, and enhancing other talents. Some wrestlers do that.
Yeah, and I mean, in a way, I feel like the fact that he's sort of a part-timer, like he comes in for a few months and then he takes a few months off and then he comes back for a few more months. In a way, I think that hurts him because everybody sort of knows that that's the deal. Mm-hmm. So if he's in a title match, he's probably not winning the title. But at the same time, he's also he's doing what you just said. He's a veteran guy, a really over guy who's coming back to make the young guys look good. And that's the sort of thing that I'm always bitching that nobody does, So I like the fact that they have a guy like Rob Van Dam. If Chris Jericho were still around, they could be using him in a similar role. He's a guy who's going to be over for life. He's earned his stripes, and the fans are always going to react to him, at least when he first comes back. And he can be around, and he can always have a good match, and he can just make the young guys look good and give them a little bit of a rub by losing to him. What did you think of the Last Man Standing match with Cena and Bray?
I thought it was a great match. I mean, I admitted that I'm not a huge Cena fan, and I'm not really one to watch his matches. They bore me. It's just run of the mill. If you've seen one Cena match, you've seen a lot of them. It's just maybe a little tweak here and there. I think they brought a little bit more aggression, and like you said, you predicted that everybody would be involved, and they were. I did think they were taking some liberties with each other's bodies, at least with Bray. Bray was, and when he chucked them steps up over when he chucked them steps down over that ringside and into his, and that was great. It was well done, very well done. But I mean, I just had to rewatch that about 10 times. Those show Seth Rollins diving, but right there, that was a highlight. That was perfectly done.
Because you don't see that sort of thing.
Mm-mm.
That's like something that they don't do every night. So yeah, I agree. I thought that was a good spot.
Well, they used to not do it every night.
Well, yeah, I know. Yeah, apparently now they will do it every night. We'll talk about that when we get to Raw. But yeah, apparently that's like I wrote in my notes for Raw. I guess we can just add that to Cena's moveset.
It's his aggressive side.
Yeah. Cena gets pissed off, so he just chucks the steps at the guy. But yeah, I thought it was a good match too. I think it was the match of the night.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked. I mean, again, Bray really impresses me every time he's out there. He's just so confident for a young guy. I mean, I didn't like the finish because I didn't get Cena going over. My philosophy is, why not make the new guy? Because it seems like Bray hasn't quite gotten that big dominant win over Cena. But then again, maybe he doesn't need it. Maybe he'll come back after this and he'll still be a monster. Who knows? But I just think it wouldn't have hurt Cena at all, and it would have helped Bray for him to win. But I liked the match. I got a little bored, even though I predicted that it was going to happen with the involvement with the Usos and the other Wyatts. I felt like that there was almost too much of that. I wanted to stick more with Cena and Wyatt because I thought when the match focused on them, it was really good and really tight and really aggressive. But a really, really good match. Like, I can't say that it was a bad match at all, even though if I were booking, I might have had it go the other way. It was still a terrific match. Next was the Divas title match, the concession stand match, to give everybody a chance to go take a piss and get a hot dog or some popcorn or whatever before the main event. Paige versus Alicia. Paige won. She tapped her out with that crazy submission hold she does, the Scorpion Crosslock, which they're now calling the PTO, the Paige Tap Out.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
That's clever. That's clever.
Like I think Scorpion Crosslock sounds like a much more badass move, but whatever. We'll call it the PTO. Um, but it was. I didn't think it was. It certainly wasn't as good as the women's match on NXT.
No.
Not even close. But it wasn't. It was short and it wasn't bad. And again, it's nice that they're letting the divas actually have wrestling matches. So I don't really have anything. I was a little surprised that Alicia didn't throw a bigger tantrum afterwards. But
She's calming down a little bit and kind of getting into her role, being a little crazy and out there.
Yeah, and I guess I mean, if she keeps getting bigger and bigger every week, eventually they're just going to run out of places to go. I mean, once you steal Jerry Lawler's crown, like what can you do? She's like,
God's sakes, hold on to your drink.
Yeah, she's taking drinks from people. I don't know. I get a kick out of it. But, now this next match, the main event, I have to say, I loved the finish. I loved the Shield going over strong and sweeping Evolution. It was an elimination match, and the Shield knocked out every member of Evolution, and they didn't lose a single fall. But I just thought it took so long to get there. Like, I thought the brawling on the outside was so long, and it was good. Like, it wasn't like they weren't phoning it in. Like, everybody was working, but it just felt like that stuff on the outside just went on so long. And then by the time they got back in the ring to finally finish it off, the finish was awesome, but it felt like, damn, it just took a while to get here. And after the match, it seemed like the only thing everybody talked about after the match was fucking Dave Bautista's ridiculous ring gear.
which he commented about on Twitter.
Oh, what did he say? I didn't see.
He said six. He mentioned that, and I'm not quoting, but he mentioned that six guys beating the shit out of one another, and the only thing people are talking about is his blue outfit.
Well, I mean, I said on our WWE Network Facebook group, it looks like he fucking beat up Sin Cara and took his gear, his fucking sleeves. I mean, Jesus.
I mean, I don't know what he was thinking. I mean, every other participant in that match was wearing black, and he has been getting heat so much that it was almost like, why didn't you just wear a big old bullseye on you?
Yeah,
because
right.
You know the people know. And how easy. I mean, the blue Tista. And then I see memes pop up that night where they painted him blue. He looks like a Smurf. And I'm like, oh, man, I mean, it's classic.
I don't know. Maybe he figures, he's on his way out. He's taking a few months off now, so he figures, what the fuck, who cares? At least they'll be talking about me while I'm gone. I don't know.
I do feel bad for Dave, man. He just has done no right since he came back.
No, and I could understand if I were Batista and people were talking about my skinny jeans or about my blue ring gear. I mean, I would probably be pissed off too. I would be pissed off too, but I mean, at the same time, because he's right, all six guys in the match did do really well. It was a really hard-fought match, and it should have been like, and it was, at least for one night, the Shield's big crowning moment. And everybody talks about Blue Tista, but at the same time, he kind of brings it on himself. Well, let's talk about Raw. Raw was live from Indianapolis, and it started out with Evolution coming to the ring. And speaking of Batista, this was Batista's the writing off of Batista, at least until the end of the summer, I would guess, for the next couple of months. Triple H and Orton walk down, and Triple H and Batista are dressed in suits. Orton is dressed in his wrestling gear. The crowd is fucking riding Dave. They're chanting Blue Tista as soon as they get out there.
It's
Triple
trending
H,
on Twitter.
Yeah. It was Michael Cole made sure to draw that to our attention, that it was trending on Twitter, because I guess that's the measure of whether or not something's over now. If it's trending on Twitter, then.
It is crazy. I go to WrestlingInc.com to look at some news reports over there every day, and those numbers do come in. NBC's like Twitter numbers.
Wow.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Okay. Well, I guess for the guys who get shit trending, I guess it's a good thing. Mm-hmm. If the company gives a shit about it, I guess it's one more way to prove your worth to the company. But anyway, so Triple H tries to say that, it's not over yet and they're going to destroy the Shield. And Batista cuts him off. He's not interested in the Shield. He doesn't want to fight the Shield again. He wants his one-on-one title shot that Triple H promised him when he came back. He said he's done everything he was supposed to do. He won the Royal Rumble. He never got his title shot. He got stuck in a three-way at WrestleMania. He wants his one-on-one world title shot, and he wants it tonight. And Triple H says, can't do it. Daniel Bryan's injured. He can't defend the title. And then he says, you know what? Even if you did get the shot tonight, Batista, you would probably just choke anyway.
Oh, snap! Oh, and even Randy Orton was kind of like trying to shake off the giggle.
Yeah, right. That's a low blow. But you know what I love? You know what I love about that is that right after Triple H said that, he goes right back to trying to talk Batista into joining, staying with the team. It's like, well, you fucking cut the guy's nuts off, and then you're like, oh, come on, calm down, Dave. Now let's get back and fight the Shield. Like, well, he's not gonna fight the Shield now, asshole. You just called him a choker in front of like 1 million people. But yeah, so Triple H says that after they destroy the Shield, that Batista will get everything that he was promised. But until they take care of the Shield, nobody gets anything. So Batista says, yeah, well, I quit. And he drops the mic, and he does like the Queen wave goodbye. And he fucking walks out. And that's it. So that's how they write off Batista. He's pissed off that he didn't get his title shot, and he's like, fuck this, and he leaves. So
he was justified.
I think so.
Sure. He came back, he was ready, won the Royal Rumble, and because of fan interaction, you sons of bitches, you fans out there, you interfered with what their plans were, and he had to basically sacrifice, and it hurt him.
Yeah, he missed out on his 2 or 3 month world title reign.
And then they could have gave it to Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. So Batista's out, and I think they did like another backstage interview with him on his way out the door later in the show, where he basically just said the same thing, broken promises, I quit. The first match of the night was a tag team match. It was a combination of 2 of the matches from Payback. It was the team of Sheamus and RVD versus Bad News and Cesaro, and Paul Heyman sat in on commentary, and he snuck in his weekly reference to Brock beating The Undertaker at WrestleMania. And I thought they had a really solid match. I really liked this match. I like tag team matches like this where they kind of put guys who are feuding together just for a one-time thing. I think it's a good way to sort of extend a feud that you want to continue. And it was a good match, but it ended when Cesaro ducked a brogue kick and then walked out on Barrett, just abandoned him, and Bad News Barrett got brogue kicked and then got frog splashed, and RVD pinned him. So
I want to know why nobody told Barrett his bad news that he was going to have his partner walk out on him.
That's right.
I mean, it is a travesty of justice. But yeah, great matchup. You got 4 guys in there who have all worked each other one way or the other the last year or so, and they are really your strong wrestlers at this point in time and current feuding. And I think that you couldn't really not have opened the show up any better than with a nice little tag team match. Give them that little high impact action, and then right into the heat of the show by having Cesaro walk off.
Yeah,
but you still get your pop because the good guys win.
Right, exactly. I would, I would start every show with a tag team match. Whether it was like 2 regular full-time teams or whether it was like a thrown together thing of just a group of guys that happened to be feuding like this one was. Either way. I think a tag team match is a perfect way to start a wrestling show, because it's such easy heat. I mean, you can have the heels double team and beat up on one of the faces, and then he gets the hot tag, and it's the perfect way to start a wrestling show. And I always love when they do that.
I always thought that tag team is a great way to open the show. Cruiserweight wrestling is also another really good way if you can have high impact and high spots and just fast. About a good 6-minute just non-stop wrestling match. It's a good way to open it up too. Yeah,
gets the people on their feet. Now, next on the live show was a segment with Damian Sandow and The Big Show, which was actually cut for my Hulu version, so I didn't see it.
Lucky you.
And yeah, it sounds pretty terrible.
Mm.
Where Damien comes out and talks shit about Indianapolis and talks shit about what losers the Pacers are, and apparently he's got like a toy basketball set,
Mm-hmm.
and Big Show comes out and like throws a ball at him and knocks him out. I don't know whose wife Damien Sandow got caught fucking, but he's he's not going anywhere anytime soon based on his positioning on the show.
It is weird because it seems like they booked this spot on the show simply because Pacers player Chris Copeland was sitting in the audience, and I think that they wanted to show that off and spotlight it. And you know, I guess the current, I don't know, I don't watch basketball. I don't even know if basketball season's going right now. That's how much I don't pay attention to basketball. I think that they like that opportunity to showcase the celebrities to come to their shows, and most likely they got a free ticket anyways.
Right.
And I guess they just wanted another way to knock Damien Sandow down another peg. So crazy. I mean, I don't know who's worse. I mean, to me, Santino Marella is a bigger freaking joke, but he gets showcased all the time.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either. I mean, I like Santino, but yeah, it's like there's an element with that Damien Sandow gimmick, like basically the genius gimmick. I mean, there's an element of humor to it because he's so arrogant, but there's no reason why that has to be like a joke gimmick. Like, he could come out and be a condescending asshole and talk about how much smarter he is than everybody, but it doesn't mean he has to be a fucking clown, you know? But it's like, I don't know, it's like he's really not even doing that anymore. He's just some guy who comes out dressed in different outfits every week.
You know what he needs?
What's he need?
He needs, and he's a friend of mine on Facebook, he needs Mr. Lanny Poffo.
Yes.
To guide him.
The genius should come out of retirement and be Damien Sandow's manager.
Mm-hmm.
That would be awesome. I would love it just to hear Lanny Poffo on TV just reading those limericks every week again. He's got
such a deep voice, and he had dust capture. So yeah, go ahead. I love the sound of his voice.
He was Lanny Poffo, and totally different than Macho Man's voice, but like memorable in its own way, you know. The genius, full of glory and renown.
That's good.
Yeah.
That was good.
That's trying to sound as arrogant and condescending as I possibly can. Yeah, the genius was awesome. And, you know, Hulu also cut out my man Bo Dallas. I didn't get to see the Bo Dallas Kofi match that I guess is the redo from Kane fucking with him on the pay-per-view. But Bo won via the Bo Dog.
The Bo Dog.
So that's good.
My favorite part of Bo Dallas right now are the consecutive running knee drops.
Yeah.
I like them.
Yeah. He's coming along. I mean, you know, he's still new. But
it's simple shit like that impresses me. I mean, it's so simple.
But yeah, because there's a lot of guys that don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, that's what when I talk about like how I love how confident Bray Wyatt is, because he doesn't look like he's waiting to figure out. He's not waiting. I don't know who calls his matches. I assume with Cena that Cena calls the match because he's the more experienced guy. But I mean, he's not like waiting around for the next move to get called. Like, he knows what he's fucking doing. And that's just such a great, and he seems relaxed and confident. And that's just a great thing for a wrestler to have. Next is Stephanie McMahon. She comes out, everybody's favorite evil boss. She's actually killing the evil boss role, I have to say. She's doing much better as the evil boss than Triple H was doing before the Evolution Shield feud started. I think she's really doing a good job being an awesome bitchy heel. And she comes out and says she's not happy about Daniel Bryan, because we forgot to mention when we talked about Payback, there was an angle where Daniel Bryan came out with Brie, and the choice was he could either forfeit the title or Brie would get fired. And then Brie sort of threw a monkey wrench in Steph's plans and quit. So she didn't get fired, but then Bryan didn't have to give up the title either because Brie just quit. So Stephanie's
pregnant.
Yeah. Take a vacation. Take a few months off. So Steph's not happy about that. and she says that Bryan was being selfish, and he should have given up the title, and he shouldn't have hidden behind his wife and let his wife do the deciding for him and all that stuff. And she sort of makes a decision about the title. She says that at the next pay-per-view, which is at the end of this month, Money in the Bank, that Bryan will have to defend the title in a stretcher match against Kane. Or, if Bryan can't make that match, then the title will be vacated, and it will be the winner of the Money in the Bank ladder match will be declared the new champion. So there you go. That's what they're going to do with the title. If Bryan's ready to go, I guess they'll just do a Bryan and Kane match. And if Bryan's not ready to go, then they vacate the title and they make Money in the Bank the title match. Which makes me wonder if they do have to do that. If Bryan does decide he can't work that match with Kane, and they do the title and Money in the Bank, does that mean there's no Money in the Bank winner this year?
Well, I've never seen anybody come back from neck surgery. I've never seen anybody who's had neck surgery stay a champion and come back and still be able to wrestle as a champion. It's just, I haven't seen it done. And as much as I'd like to think Daniel Bryan is able to do it, I mean, when it comes to his physical size, he's not John Cena. He's not Kane. He doesn't have that huge muscle mass of a body. He will break down a lot easier. So it does worry me that he won't be able to put himself in a high-profile match by the time Money in the Bank rolls around. So I don't see it happening, and I think it would be justified for him to do the right thing. And I have to give kudos to Stephanie McMahon because she mentioned the 30-day clause last night too.
Yes, and I mean it's a little late now.
Mm-hmm.
And she even said it's been over 30 days.
Yeah.
But at least she did mention it. At least they reminded us that traditionally that has been the rule. I kind of hope, now that they've set up Money in the Bank as being possibly for the title, I mean, I kind of hope that Bryan does take a little bit longer off because, I mean, I love seeing him. He's my favorite wrestler by far right now. I mean, I don't even know who second place would be, maybe Cesaro. And I love him with the title, but I don't want the guy to cripple himself. I mean, I want him to take as much time as he needs to get healthy and to get better and then come back. I don't want him to come back too early just so he can get right back to work. I mean, shit, that's why his neck is hurt right now. Because
who misses Edge?
Yeah.
Because, exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, but anyway, so back to Stephanie's promo. John Cena comes out because Bray Wyatt's not here tonight. So John Cena has no one to work with. John Cena has no one else to play with. So he comes out and gets in Stephanie's ass. And there's a great sign in the crowd that I noticed. I caught a glimpse of it. It says, "Hustle, loyalty, respect, turn heel." Which, again, I think is a terrible idea, but a lot of people still want Cena to turn heel. Anyway, he gets in Stephanie's face about wanting to take the belt away from Daniel Bryan. He says she's only doing it because she's selfish and she has a personal bias against Bryan. And the reason Bryan doesn't want to give up the title is because he knows that if they get the belt off of him, that they'll never want him to have it back. Whereas when Cena gave up the title because he was injured, he knew that when he came back, he would have a fair shot to win it back. So I like the fact that they're acknowledging maybe a reason why Bryan wouldn't want to give up the title. Because traditionally, if the champion is injured, I mean, if it goes on too long, it would start to make Bryan look bad. Because you would think if he's really that much of a champion and he really cares that much about the title, why would he want to hold on to it if he knows he can't defend it? And Cena suggests, well, maybe it's because he knows if he gives it up, he'll never get it back. So Steph doesn't like that one bit. And to punish John Cena, she books him in a match against Kane. I should say the Demon Kane. And that match starts right away, but it's not that long of a match because Kane smacks Cena around for a little bit, and Cena starts a comeback, but then Kane gets disqualified for not breaking on the 5 count in the corner, and then he tries to tombstone Cena on the steps, but Cena escapes, and he does the step throwing thing, like we talked about, that's now officially a part of John Cena's moveset, chucking the steps at the guy, and then Kane the referees come out and separate them, and Kane kind of throws a little hissy fit, and that's the end of that. So There you go.
That brings John Cena's total move count up to 9.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know what? Just book a ref bump, and he can do that every time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just the ref gets knocked out, and Cena goes right for the steps. It could be a part of his character from now on. So yeah.
Before we leave that segment, I want to just say, Stephanie looked really, 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 really good last night.
Yeah. I thought about you when I was watching it. I thought, man, I bet Doc is liking Steph's dress because she was showing a lot of leg and it was like a very attractive looking outfit. So I bet Doc
like legs.
Yep.
And she has beautiful eyes too. I mean, honestly, if you look into Stephanie's eyes, and they're like that crystal blue, and she does have very beautiful eyes.
Yeah, yeah. She's like a lady version of Vince McMahon.
That's right. I like to think of swim in her eyes.
The limpid pools of her eyes. Now, I think the next like 3 segments were cut for Hulu for me. I missed Los Matadors versus 3MB, which Los Matadors won. I missed Nikki in a handicap match against Alicia and Oksana because I guess she's being punished for Brie and Daniel Bryan, so she had to work a handicap match, which she lost. And then Jack Swagger versus Adam Rose, which Adam Rose won. I didn't see that either. So what were any of those worth seeing?
The 3MB versus Los Matadores was just a comedy act. It was to showcase really Hornswoggle's bad haircut. Why he did not shave the rest of his head, I do not know, but he's still sporting the exact same cut he got that night.
Wow.
Which also is retarded because you don't put the shaving cream on and then get the buzz clips out.
Yeah, I thought that was a little weird too.
Well, he's Mexican. I don't.
They don't cut hair in Mexico.
No, they use machetes still down there. Most of them don't have electricity.
Fucking machete. That's hilarious. They're just not the same as we are.
Up in America.
So anyway.
But yeah, sorry about that, guys. Sometimes it's comedy. It's comedy relief. It was nice to see Oksana out there. I think Oksana is another one of those divas I like to look at, but nothing really special in the ring. Alicia Fox really was to showcase there, and she did her little antics parading around the ring afterwards. So I do enjoy watching a little bit more of the Bane side of Alicia Fox. So I hope they do something with her here soon. Why you did not get the Adam Rose versus Jack Swagger match on Hulu, I don't know. Especially if you want to be pushing this new guy, he needs to be showcased across all formats. You can't just be cutting people like Bo Dallas and Adam Rose off the Hulu programming because those are the ones you want to push. That's why you're bringing them up to the big leagues. But I felt bad for Jack because he's being fed Adam Rose right now, and I guess Jack's just one of those also high-profile enhancement talents these days, like RVD. He might get a bone every now and again, but for the most part, this is his job.
Yeah, which is a shame for Swagger because unlike RVD, he's not a part-timer. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's still young. He could still be a major part of the show, and I mean, hopefully will be at some point because it's hard to imagine. I mean, he's still young enough that you would hope he would still be around when Cena retires or at least goes to a more limited role, and when Triple H finally decides he's not wrestling anymore, and some of that room at the top opens up a little bit. Hopefully then finally Jack Swagger and some of these guys that have been down, and Dolph Ziggler, guys that have been kind of down in the middle for a long time, just begging for a shot at the top, will be able to move up there. But
not everybody can be as lucky as Steve Lombardi.
Right. He could come back now. Mm-hmm. He could come back and work a match like next week on Raw, and it would be
don't
like.
Look any different. I think he hasn't washed the clothes yet either.
Yeah, he probably still brings it with him. He probably still brings the Brooklyn Brawler gear with him whenever he comes to the show. Next was the Wyatt family versus the Usos, and before this, there was a backstage promo with the Wyatts without Bray Wyatt, which I thought was interesting. Luke Harper did most of the talking.
Very well done. Very well done.
Yeah, I really thought Luke did a really good job. I agree with you. And Eric Rowan got to say "follow the buzzards" at the end, which I think is maybe the first time we've heard him talk on Raw on the big show. I think he talked a little bit in NXT, but yeah, I thought Luke Harper is not a bad talker at all. I mean, he did a really good job.
He's got good crazy eyes. I like his crazy eyes.
Yeah, he's really good. I really like him. And they have then next is their match with the Usos. Bray Wyatt again is not there, but they have his rocking chair there, which I thought was a nice touch. And then the Usos knock the chair over on their way to the ring, which I also thought was a nice touch. It was a non-title match, which means that the Usos lost, because that's the only way WWE Creative knows how to book a tag team feud anymore, is just to have the title.
That doesn't always happen. That doesn't always happen. I've seen it a lot of times, because I've also been on the flip side of that, where they booked a non-title match with the champions, and then the champions win, and I think, well, why didn't you just make that a title match to showcase?
That's true.
To further showcase how strong they are as champions.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't happen all the time, but and maybe not necessarily just with the tag titles, but it seems like, well, that's how they started off Sheamus and Cesaro. Cesaro pinned him clean in a non-title match. It's like, okay, he's the champion, but he still loses. So what's the fucking point of being the champion? But yeah, so anyway, I thought this was a really good match. This was a really strong tag team match. Both Jimmy and Jay took turns selling for the Wyatts, especially Eric Rowan. He got a lot of time in the ring for this one, which is good, because that's the only way he's ever going to get any better, is if they let him work, especially on TV, and I thought he did a good job. And the finish came when Rowan tagged himself in, and he blocked like a kick attempt from Jey Uso, and he hit him with a really high, like, lifted side slam, and pinned him clean. So it looks like they're finally officially going for Wyatts versus Usos for the tag titles, after they've kind of been against each other, mixed up with the Cena versus Bray feud for the last couple of months. No complaints about that. I thought it was a really strong match. I'm not crazy about champions losing non-title matches to set up feuds, but I like all four guys. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, well, you got the Usos, who are an established wrestlers, because I mean, it's in their background, it's in their blood. These guys probably were born wrestling. They were probably in a collar and elbow lockup when they came out of their mother's womb. So that's how Samoans are born normally. They're biting and gnawing into the umbilical cord, trying. They're already fighting. So yeah, they can hold their own in the ring, and they are definitely progressing quite nicely. I think Ryback is another one of those teams that's progressing quite nicely and looking strong. Los Matadores is still very weak. If I was them, I would drop an NXT tag division completely and bring the Ascension over.
Yeah, they're pretty much ready. I agree.
Yeah, and then whenever you need to showcase a new tag team, like you do with the Ascension, to wrestle, just bring them over to SmackDown and let them wrestle. But it's just time to maybe put all your eggs in one basket and try to make the best of what you got, because I still don't think that the tag division is very strong or noteworthy at all. But it is nice to see that the other Wyatt boys are going to get their opportunity to go at those belts. But I'm kind of hoping that still Usos win. I think I would like to see them be established as strong title holders, or at least strong title holders in the tag division, because you have done that with the world title, and you have done that with the United States title, and you've never really done that with the tag belts established. Like, there's never been like chatter of how long people have held those belts.
Right.
So it would be nice to establish those belts again, to make them relevant by keeping them on the Usos and then bringing up those stats time and time again to bring it home. But I think it's going to be a really good program for Harper and Rowan. So I look forward to this feud. Where Bray Wyatt's going to go after this, don't know. So But he's going to be on SmackDown, so it should be interesting. Actually, that's being filmed tonight, so I'll probably be reading the reports because I don't usually watch SmackDown.
Yeah, I'm curious what they're doing with Bray too, because I mean, I hope that the fact that he wasn't on the show means that they have something planned for him. I hope it doesn't mean that they're trying to figure it out, you know, and they were just like, fuck, we don't know what to do with you yet, Bray, so just take the night off. I mean, I hope that they have like a good idea of where he's going next, because you know, even though I thought the Cena feud kind of dragged a little bit leading up to the Last Man Standing match, I mean, he's still one of their of the guys that they've brought up from NXT the last year or two. I mean, he's definitely right up at the top of that list.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that they don't just forget about him now, you know. Like, for instance, the guys in the next match. The next match on the show was a Money in the Bank qualifier, and it was Alberto Del Rio versus Dolph Ziggler. And I like both guys a lot. And the crowd was really into Dolph as a babyface. There was a lot of "Let's go Ziggler." They were really into everything that Ziggler did. It was a short match, but both guys worked hard. The crowd was into it. But this match kind of makes me sad, because here are these two guys who are incredibly talented, who are really good at what they do, who are over, especially Dolph, really over as a babyface, who the crowd really wants to see more of, and they're fighting to qualify in the Money in the Bank match, which both of them have already won in the past. And not only have they each won the Money in the Bank, but they've each successfully cashed it in for the world title. And now here they are on the undercard fighting for another chance to get into Money in the Bank. They have not been elevated by their Money in the Bank wins at all. They are right back where they started before they won Money in the Bank, which kind of takes... It'd
have been much easier for them both to either sustain an injury and stay out for 6 months and then come back into the WWE, because then you wouldn't have to actually start at Money in the Bank. You'd probably get thrown right into the title picture.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it just, you know, it kind of takes the piss out of the whole Money in the Bank concept, you know, when you have two guys who are previous winners who are still fighting to get in the match. It's like, but it was, you know, and if you're a Dolph Ziggler fan, it kind of stings a little too, because Dolph loses the match. I mean, I'll give Dolph credit for this. I mean, he hasn't been used very well, I don't think. He loses a lot. He often doesn't have a very prominent position on the show. Creatively, he's had like no direction at all for months, and neither has Alberto. They just have nothing to do. But and you know, Dolph maybe has a reputation of being a little bit of a bellyacher, because he'll post things on Twitter sometimes to reference the fact that he hasn't been on the show or he hasn't been used or whatever. But when he's in the ring, he never fucking dogs it in the ring. He always busts his ass in the ring. And I give him credit for that, because a lot of guys, maybe if they weren't happy with how they were being used, they might just go out and just do the job and say, hey, you asked me to lose, so I lost, you know. But Dolph seems like he really goes out there and gives it 110% every time, and I really respect him for that.
Yeah, this actually was my this actually to me was the best match of the night, because I did like both of their aggression, the fast, and you know, they took their moments to do their rest holds and everything. But I thought the finish was really nice. I mean, I would like to see that match again down the road, because it was really, really good. I think it's got a lot of potential to a story been told there. But yeah, unfortunately, that means Dolph doesn't get an opportunity at all. At least Alberto gets that opportunity to go back and, you know, try, but Dolph doesn't get that at all now.
Yeah, it just, and you know, and again, like, so Alberto has something to look forward to at least. He's in the match, but you know, up until that point. I mean, I remember when Alberto Del Rio debuted, and you know, he came out in a different car every week, and he had like vignettes leading up to his debut, and he won the Royal Rumble, and he won Money in the Bank, and he won both world titles within like a year. I mean, you know, he won the Raw title and the SmackDown title, and he was world champion on SmackDown for a little while. He just, you know, and now he's just another guy on the show. He has nothing to do. He has no program. He has no story. And the same thing with Dolph. I mean, he blew the roof off the arena the night after WrestleMania 29 when he cashed in Money in the Bank, and he won the title from Del Rio.
Mm-hmm.
And he got injured, unfortunately, and was out for like a month or two, and came back, and it's like ever since then he's just had nothing, just nothing,
Nothing.
It sucks. Anyway, then Lana and Rusev came out, and I'm not sure. I mean, this whole segment puzzled me because it didn't go anywhere. I mean, Lana and Rusev came out. Lana cut a little promo on the stage before Rusev came out, like she usually does now. And she put over Edward Snowden as a hero and says that he's in Russia because Russia, values their heroes, unlike America. And then she puts over Vladimir Putin again and puts his picture up on the Titantron. And then Rusev comes out, and they have like this Olympic medal ceremony where he stands up on a podium, and they give him this gold star medal, which they put over as like an official Russian decoration. And then that's it. There's no run-in. Nobody comes out and cuts a promo.
Yeah, I figured that would happen. I figured like somebody's music would hit, or American music would hit, or even Hulk Hogan's music would hit. Yes, but congratulations to Rusev for winning the Hero of Russian Federation medal.
Yeah. Good for you, Rusev. Yeah, but I never even thought about it. But Hogan coming out would have been hilarious. This ain't Russia, brother.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, one thing's for sure is that Rusev definitely belongs with Lana because they both look incredible in a really tight suit.
Maybe that's why they got paired up. Maybe Triple H was down there in NXT and he was like, those two.
I think he did skip over Ryback versus Goldust and Sin Cara. That was before that.
Was it? I thought it was after that.
Oh, if it's after, they have it in a fucked up order on the website.
Maybe it was. Yeah. Well, either way,
we're getting to that now.
Yeah. Either way, yeah. Maybe I just have it in the wrong place in my notes because it was skipped on Hulu for me. I thought I saw that it was after. But maybe you're right. Maybe it was before. But anyway. Yeah, I didn't get to see it. It was cut out for the Hulu version, but it was Ryback versus Goldust and Sin Cara. I guess Cody is like auditioning new tag team partners.
Yeah, he handpicked his tag team partner for Goldust.
Sin Cara.
Yeah, and if I was Goldust, I'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about, Cody? I'm a grown damn man. I can pick out my own damn tag team partner. I've been doing this for years. This ain't my first damn rodeo partner."
Well, yeah, I mean, not only that, not only is it like stupid to think that Goldust can't pick another tag team partner for himself if he wants to, if he even wants to be in a tag team without his brother, but like, in what universe is Sin Cara a better tag team partner than fucking former Intercontinental Champion, former World Tag Team Champion Cody Rhodes? Like, I understand what they're doing, that Cody is having like a crisis of confidence. But why isn't Goldust just smacking him in the head and going, look, idiot, you're like better than all these people that you're putting me with,
Yeah. I'll just go on my own until you can get yourself better and let me know. I'll be here along the way, but don't team him up with other people.
It's good for Goldust though because he's not taking any of the pinfalls, Cody always got
wrestling every week.
Yeah, right. So that's a thing. They're doing the Goldust and Cody breakup thing, but it's Cody's trying to find a replacement. So we'll see. I'm sure it's leading up to a match between the two of them at some point. Now here comes the ending. The Shield comes out to cut a promo, and then the booked match is Reigns versus Randy Orton. That was the announced main event. The Shield comes out, and they say that the reason that Evolution lost was because Evolution were just three guys who happened to be standing on the same side of the ring. But the Shield are brothers. That's what's known in the writing business as foreshadowing. Because it turns out they weren't brothers, or at least one of them wasn't a brother, because the Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton match never actually happens. Triple H and Randy Orton come down, and Orton is, like I said at the beginning of the show, is dressed in his gear, is ready to go. But Triple H comes out with his sledgehammer, and he says, it's time for Plan B. And Plan B is that Seth Rollins grabs a chair and turns on the other two members of the Shield.
What?
Yeah. And I said in my notes that it makes no sense, but the crowd seemed into it. You know, they were chanting "You sold out" at Rollins, and it's something. It's a different direction now that Batista's gone. So I guess it's something else for them to do. And maybe I was thinking about how you always say, Doc, that Triple H shouldn't be wrestling at this point. He should just be doing, out of the ring stuff. So maybe now that it's back to a 2-on-2 thing with Orton and Seth against Ambrose and Reigns, maybe Triple H won't have to wrestle. So I don't know. What did you think of Seth Rollins' shocking heel turn?
Well, I have said this before, and this is when we felt that the Shield was imploding originally, that I had concerns about Seth Rollins' career, that he would get lost in the shuffle, because it seems like that, he was the mediator between a fight between Roman and Dean. And granted, I think we both can agree that Dean Ambrose is going to do just fine, and Roman Reigns is going to do just fine, but it's still that question mark on Seth. So you make him the one that turns, and I think going over on the Triple H side and being, powwowing around with Triple H and Randy Orton and those boys, he's going to learn a great deal.
Yeah, and Seth Rollins, going back to when he was Tyler Black, is a decent heel already.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not, he still has a lot to learn. He's still young, but I think he's probably a better heel than he is a babyface. And it's not a bad idea. It's just, but if you look at it logically, and I know you should never do that with wrestling, because it almost never makes sense logically. But if you look at it logically, Seth Rollins turns on the Shield right after the Shield has completely dominated Evolution. Why is he turning against these guys? These guys are fucking kicking ass. These guys are monsters. They fucking beat all 3 members of Evolution last night. What reason does he have to turn on them? And I'm sure we'll get like an explanation promo next week. I'm sure Seth will come out and he'll explain why he turned, or Triple H will explain why he turned. But for the moment, it's like, why the fuck would you do that?
Yeah. I have no clue.
Yeah. Or maybe they'll do that. Maybe they'll do that thing where I forget who it was. There was someone who did like a high-profile heel turn within the last year in WWE. I can't remember who it was, so you can tell how meaningful it was to me. But he came out and basically said, "I'm not going to explain it. You're not owed an explanation, so I'm not even going to tell you." And then he just went from there. So maybe they'll do that. So that's how things are shaping up for Money in the Bank at the end of the month. Money in the Bank match, possibly for the WWE title. If not, Kane versus Bryan in a stretcher match for the title. Probably some combination of Ambrose and Reigns and Orton and Rollins, maybe in a tag team match, or maybe they'll break them off into separate singles matches. But something to do with them. It's I always like it when the pay-per-view starts to take shape early, because they have lots of time to build up to the matches.
And I think it's a unique angle already with will Daniel Bryan be able to wrestle, and they already have 2 contingency plans in place. So I think that was well played there by doing that. Yeah,
definitely setting it up ahead of time. And if it turns out that Bryan is ready to go, they'll probably just drag it out as long as possible. Like if Bryan's doctor comes back next week and says he's going to be good to go, they're probably not going to say that on the show. They'll wait until the pay-per-view to build the suspense. So you're like, is Bryan going to be able to wrestle or not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the time in the show, and normally we would talk about the Legend of the Week. But last week, Doc had the great suggestion of making the Legend not so much a person, but more of an event.
Yes.
So given that, and we didn't plan it this way, but given that people are talking a little bit about Bret Hart this week because he was on NXT, and he and Natalya were together for her match with Charlotte on Takeover, we're going to talk about the Montreal Screwjob. When Bret Hart was legit, most people think legit, some people still think it was a work, but was legitimately screwed out of the WWF title at Survivor Series in 1997, right before he left to go join WCW. And Shawn Michaels put him in the sharpshooter, and Vince McMahon yelled at the referee, Earl Hebner, to ring the fucking bell, which Earl did. And Shawn became the WWF champion. And it was, most people believe at the time it was a shoot, but one thing is definitely for certain is that it became a storyline almost immediately. They acknowledged what had happened on WWF television and used it to make Vince a massive heel almost immediately. And it became one of the most important angles in the WWF, because that led to Mr. McMahon, that led to Austin versus McMahon. The whole thing took off from there. And Bret Hart wound up not doing quite as well.
No.
So what are your thoughts generally on the Montreal Screwjob, Doc? And then we'll talk a little bit more about, specifics, maybe who was at fault, that sort of thing.
Well, I kind of, at that point, when it happened, I was already pretty deep into knowing what, getting stories from, behind the scenes and everything. So through wrestling magazines and wrestling observers and, things like that were mailed to me. So I got to see that kind of thing. But I always thought, and then I never have changed my mind on this, that that Bret forgot that it's a work, that he's wearing a decoration. That's all that is around your waist, is a little decoration symbolizing that the company believes that you're going to make them money. So that's all that is to you. You shouldn't take too much pride in your championships. Yes, they're nice because it's nice to actually be rewarded and recognized for your things you do in wrestling. But it's still a decoration, and you should never take them too seriously. I don't care if you're in your hometown. I don't care if you're in your home country. Canada is freaking huge. So it's like anytime you cross the freaking border, you're not going to want to lay down or get beat by anybody. Second, you're already talking about you're leaving for buku bucks over to WCW, and we need to really think about winding down your championship reign. And we have already been shot in the ass before when Medusa left with the women's championship, and she showed up on live television and threw it away. And I'd like to think that I can trust you, but this is wrestling, and you can't trust anybody in wrestling, especially when there are millions of dollars on the line. And I've always looked at it as a business standpoint. Vince wanted it one way, and sure, Bret may have been wanting to. He would have won that night and went the next night at Raw and forfeited the title, saying he was leaving, and that would have been really nice to do. But even if the boss tells you he wants you to drop the title now, that's what you do. You are his employee, and you are. It's really silly, and I guarantee you right now that Vince no longer ever puts creative control in anybody's contract anymore. So it was a crazy moment. It was definitely something that was that will never be forgotten. Unlike the very first screw job, where they took the belt off of Wendy Richter.
Oh yeah, well, that was Moolah, right? Moolah.
Spider Lady.
Hookter and Pinder. Yeah, I agree with you pretty much 100%. I think that, if you have to blame one of the two primary people involved, that most of the blame falls on Bret. Mm-hmm. And, the only reason I say that it's not all Bret's fault is because Vince did tell him that there was going to be a different finish. Vince did say, okay, we'll do it your way. We'll have the DQ, and then, we'll sort it out tomorrow night on Raw. So Vince did double-cross Bret.
Yes.
But the only reason he felt like he had to double-cross Bret was because Bret would not do business. And I'm kind of like you. I'm just an old-school fan. You actually work in the business, so you have a much more hands-on, experienced opinion about this than I do. But I think we have the same feeling, which is if the promoter tells you to lose, you can bitch, and you can say that doesn't work for me, and you can try to talk him into a different finish. You can have a voice, you can suggest something else, but at the end of the day, when the promoter says this is the finish, that's got to be the finish. That's just it. It's like an actor refusing to do what a director asks him to do on a movie set.
Or a ballet dancer going out there say, but I really wanted to throw some cardboard down and do some breakdancing during my show tonight.
Right.
God damn it, I'm walking off the stage if you don't let me do some breakdance. I'm doing the worm. I'm doing the worm.
It's my hometown. I'm gonna do the worm. But yeah, it's you know, you're right. I mean, we mentioned it, I think, briefly last week when we brought up that we were going to talk about this. I love Bret Hart. Bret Hart is one of my favorite wrestlers. He was an amazing worker, and I just have nothing but respect for him. He had so many amazing matches, but the guy just seems like he was too much of a mark for himself. I mean, it's good to take pride in what you do, and it's good to take it seriously, and Bret definitely took it very seriously. But
yeah, when you're told you're the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, time and time again, that kind of wraps around your head is, hey, you're gonna be the best there ever is. So
yeah.
That's who I am.
Yeah, and you know, the fact is that Bret was on his way out. He had already signed with the competition, and he had already exceeded his contracted dates with the WWF. I mean, he could have left any time, legally, and he still had the title. So, you do the math. You know, I mean, it's not that what Vince did was 100% morally right because he double-crossed Bret, but Bret had the title of the #1 belt in the company, the flagship of the company. He was the WWF champion. He was on his way out the door, and he was refusing to drop the title. So, yeah, okay, Vince double-crossed him. Vince lied to him and cheated him. But Bret should have done business. Bret should have said, you know what, I don't like Shawn Michaels. He's an asshole. We have this personal thing. Bret probably had every reason in the world to hate Shawn Michaels because everything I've heard about Shawn at that point in his life is that Shawn was a prick. I mean,
Shawn's an asshole!
Even people who think that Shawn Michaels is an amazing wrestler. And
that was me. I idolize Shawn Michaels, and I think he's a dick.
Oh, he's incredible. He's an incredible wrestler. He's one of the best ever. But even people who in the business they'll talk all day long about what a brilliant worker Shawn Michaels was. But then they'll also, like Jim Cornette is a perfect example. Jim Cornette will tell you that Shawn Michaels was one of the most brilliant in-ring performers he ever saw, and that he was a fucking asshole.
So is Jim Cornette.
And so is Jim Cornette. and Cornette wasn't even that good of a worker, you know.
Jim Cornette's an asshole in a good way. That's the kind of asshole you like.
Jim Cornette couldn't even take a bump, but yeah, without blowing out his ankles. But I love Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette's like one of my favorite too. But yeah, you know, so Bret should have said, you know, I hate this guy, but it's not my decision. This is the next guy. This is the guy that Vince is bringing to take my place, and this is just my job, you know. And honestly, Bret knew. First of all, he knew he was on his way out. But even if Bret wasn't on his way out, Bret had to know that right behind him was Steve Austin. Like, even if Bret wasn't leaving the company, he knew that his time as the top babyface in WWF was almost gone. You know, his days were numbered. So Bret's refusal to drop the belt to Shawn just made no sense at all. Okay. Oh, this is perfect. Yes.
Where my damn right I did. This is actually signed by Earl Hebner.
That's awesome.
So it was funny. I went to a TNA show here in Hagerstown, and everybody was in the audience screaming, "You screwed Bret! You screwed Bret!" And I stood up. I'm sitting like third row from the ring, and I stood up and said, "And you screwed Hogan too!" And he came right over to ringside, looked me dead in the eye, and I read his lips clearly. He goes, "You fucking piece of shit!" And I was like, "Yes! Earl Hebner called me a piece of shit!"
That's awesome. I love that. That's become Earl Hebner's gimmick as a ref. He's the ref who screws people.
Yeah.
But he's also like one of the greatest referees ever, so you know he's always going to have a job, even though in storyline he's a huge cheat and crooked. Earl Hebner he did screw Hogan too. But yeah, and Earl Hebner was just doing what Bret should have done. He's doing what the fuck he was told.
Yep.
He's a performer, and his promoter told him this is the finish. So the referee saw to it that that was what the finish was. He was doing his job.
As a referee, if the promoter pulled me to the side right before I walked out the curtain and asked me to fast count, I'm going to fast count.
Right. Yeah, I mean, unless the guy you're fast counting is going to pay your bills, you know, until you can find another job. I mean, let's be realistic about this.
And that was Sean's mindset. It's like, I'm going to become champion. I'm the man around here. I'm still employed. Where are you going? Oh, that's right, Bret Hart. You're going to a promotion that has no idea how to take a hot-button storyline and push you straight to the top of that promotion and make you a bona fide superstar and shove it straight back into WWE's face, what they did to you. And then you get thrown into this whole NWA bullshit, which has already been flooded like a huge big puddle of mud, until the moment where Goldberg, an untrained beast of a fucking wrestler who has no business being in the ring, kicked your damn head off and gave you a concussion, and they're ending a career of a great technical wrestler.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what your contract to WCW got you.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, I mean, Bret, when he talks now, Bret seems like he's kind of over the whole thing. Not all the way. He still seems a little bitter about it, and he still seems like he doesn't quite get like why it was the right thing for him to drop the title. He still seems a little full of himself. But he's made peace with Vince. He's made peace with Sean. So it seems like he's kind of over it for the most part, at least as over it as he's ever going to get. And I understand if I look at it from Bret's point of view, I understand why he would be pissed at Vince. I understand why he would be pissed at Sean, because they did double cross him, even though he brought it on himself. But I would be just as pissed at Hogan and Bischoff, because like you just said, Doc, he came into WCW the hottest wrestler in the business. The first wrestler that anybody could remember who had been legitimately double-crossed and screwed out of a title on his way out of a promotion. And he came into WCW, and they did nothing with him. I mean, he was the special outside enforcer referee for the Sting versus Hogan match at Starrcade, which didn't need him, which had... No, actually, he wasn't. He was their special ref in the Bischoff versus Zbyszko match. And then which was even stupider. He had nothing to do with any of that. And then he came into the Hogan Sting match when that ref got bumped, and did the call to for the submission for Sting to win. It had nothing to do with Bret Hart at all. I mean, the only thing that it had anything to do with Bret was, I guess, they were trying to make a comment on the screw job by having Sting put Hogan in the Scorpion Deathlock and then have Bret call for the bell. I mean, which is just stupid. I mean, yeah, that's so much better than putting Bret Hart into a fucking feud with somebody and making $1 million.
Yeah, for a company that wasn't shy about revealing results of the wrestling show across town. Yeah. I mean, I'd have taken that storyline and shoved it straight back in Vince's face as hard as possible, like ECW did. ECW, I mean, you didn't see it on TV, but when you heard interviews or Shane Douglas or anybody talk up there, especially Shane Douglas, still today talk about those other companies. It definitely it was some sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. Shane Douglas is still pissed about it. I mean, he still talks shit about Ric Flair fucking 25 years later. Yeah, I mean, you and I talked about it I guess last week we were talking about it when we were over at Matt's place about, and it's easy to rebook it after the fact. Anybody can think of, well, here's what they should have done, and there's only so much value in that. But I mean, in retrospect, it just seems so obvious that Bret comes in as the undefeated champion of the other company, and Sting just won the title from Hogan. They're similar guys, they're similar styles, they have the same finish. Yep. Sting is the world champion of WCW. Bret is the guy who still claims to be the world champion of WWF because he never actually lost the title. He was screwed.
Yeah, remember when Flair came in? Remember when Flair came in to WWF? He's like, this is the real world championship.
Absolutely. Like, it's not that fucking hard. You bring Bret Hart in. He says, I was never beaten for my title. He gets in Sting's face. There you go. I mean, and they did nothing. It was like a year before Bret and Sting even fucking touched each other. And it seems like that's the obvious direction to go. But no, yeah, Brett was so horribly used. I mean, I bitch about how they don't use Dolph Ziggler, or they don't use Alberto Del Rio, or they don't use this or that talented guy in WWE now. Man, nobody in WWE right now is being as poorly used as Bret Hart was used in WCW.
Yeah.
I mean, he was red hot when he came in. He's legitimately, even at that point in his career when he had some years on him and he was clearly on the downslope, he was still one of the best technical wrestlers in the world, and they fucking did nothing with him. They did absolutely nothing with him. The best match he ever had in WCW was the match he had with Benoit that was the tribute match to his fucking dead brother.
Yeah.
I mean, that was an amazing match.
Sure, they're going to have a great match. Yeah, they're going to have a great match. They've wrestled each other many times before.
Yeah. It was an amazing match, but it meant nothing. I mean, it meant something to them and to wrestling fans because it was about Owen, but it meant nothing for Brett in terms of his position in the company. I mean, even when they finally put the world title on him, you know, that was like a month later he got kicked in the head by fucking Goldberg. You know, I mean,
yeah, the world title over there on Brett was about insignificant as being on Brett over in WCW. That's how insignificant it is. I have a feeling he was champion, but I can't remember it.
Yeah, he actually, I think he probably ended up holding the U.S. title for longer than he held the fucking world title in WCW. And to bring Bret Hart to your company in 1997, 98, and to put the fucking U.S. title on him, you know, and it took him like 6 months to even do that. And I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, what the fuck are you people doing? So if I were Brett, if I were going to be pissed at somebody, yeah, I'd be pissed at Vince. I'd be pissed at fucking Hogan and Bischoff too, because what the fuck are you doing? What am I doing here? You know? But yeah, so that's the Montreal Screwjob. I think we both, and you know, and the worst part about the Montreal Screwjob is how many times they redid it. How many angles they did where it was like, Vince is doing it again. You know, like the first time they did it with Austin, it was kind of neat, but then they did it over and over and over. They did it with The Rock at the Survivor Series the year after that. You know, it became like a joke. We're like, oh, they're doing, you know, every time, for a while there, it was like you get nervous every time somebody put a fucking sharpshooter on somebody. Because you're like, oh shit, they're doing the Montreal Screwjob again, you know? I think Russo even did it a few times when he was booking WCW. He did like callbacks to the Montreal Screwjob. It was ridiculous.
That's probably because he helped write that over in WWF.
Yeah. Well, according to Russo, everything that you remember from the Attitude Era was completely his idea. So, you know, the Montreal Screwjob.
It was his.
Yeah. The Montreal Screwjob, if you ask Vince, it was probably his. It wasn't just his suggestion. It was his complete idea. So now let's wrap it up. But before we wrap it up, I want to keep offering some recommendations for the WWE Network.
Okay.
For older shows, maybe people who haven't been into the product as long as we have, or who just got their WWE Network subscription. A show that you can check out from the old school, maybe you would like to see, that would maybe introduce you to the product a little bit. And since we're talking about the Montreal Screwjob, I want to recommend a show, a pay-per-view you can watch on the WWE Network that will show you Bret Hart in a little bit of a happier time, a few months before the Screwjob happened and his career went downhill. The recommendation I'm giving you this week is the Canadian Stampede pay-per-view. In Your House 16, Canadian Stampede, from July 6, 1997, live from the Saddle Dome in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And the noteworthy part of this show is the main event, one of the hottest main events you will ever see. The crowd was fucking red hot for this match. It was a 10-man tag featuring all 5 members of the Hart Foundation, which was Bret Hart, Owen Hart, Davey Boy Smith, Jim Neidhart, and Brian Pillman, versus the team of Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ken Shamrock, Goldust, and the Road Warriors. And it was such a the crowd was on fire. This was the Hart's hometown. The Hart family was in the front row. It was at the height of the U.S. versus Canada storyline, where Bret was a heel in the U.S. but a huge babyface in Canada. And it was part of Brett's last really big run before Montreal and before going to WCW, and it's just an amazing match and amazing crowd reaction, and it's probably something that I think Brett would rather be remembered for than Montreal. So that's my recommendation.
Well, I didn't really think about it, so I just brainstormed here real quick. And if I had to point out one significant pay-per-view, not even pay-per-view, or old school show you can watch on the network right now, I would have to recommend one that was its creation was on its first ever show was actually on free TV before it became the epic pay-per-view that you know of as the Royal Rumble. Back in 1988, the Royal Rumble was absolutely free on the USA Network for the very first year. So that was really cool, and it did introduce a new concept to wrestling fans that I will never forget, because the Royal Rumble still to this day will be one of my favorite pay-per-views because of the unique Battle Royal that's in it. But at that time, the Royal Rumble actually only had 20 participants. Other matches on the show, of course, were Ricky Steamboat, who defeated Rick Rude by disqualification. I'll just give you the matches so you can watch these shows. Watch these. You have the Jumping Bomb Angels versus the Glamour Girls, and I do love the Glamour Girls because Judy Martin is awesome, but I have a special Leilani Kai. Leilani Kai, of course, wrestled at the first WrestleMania. She was part of the Glamour Girls, and she did actually kick the ass of yours truly in the wrestling ring. So I love Leilani Kai. So, but they actually wrestled, and had 2 out of 3 falls for the women's tag team championships, people. So it is actually insane to think that they had a women's tag team championship at this time. Granted, they only had 2 women's tag teams at the time as well. Also on the card, you had the Islanders, which was Haku and Tama, facing off against the Young Stallions, which is Paul Roma and Jim Powers. That was also 2 out of 3 falls. And then, of course, you had the big Royal Rumble, which participants were like Bret Hart, Tito Santana, Butch Reed, Jim Neidhart, Jake the Snake Roberts, Harley Race, Jumping Jim Brunzell, Cowboy Sam Houston, referee Danny Davis, Boris Zukov, Don Morocco, and he was the original Rock.
Yes.
Don Morocco. Nikolai Volkov, Big Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who you can catch on Legends House, Ron Bass, the other Killer B. Brian Blair, other Legends House member Hillbilly Jim, Dino Bravo, the Ultimate Warrior, One Man Gang, and the Junkyard Dog. And I'll give you this one: Jim Duggan, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, won the very first Royal Rumble.
Yeah, that is a great. I mean, those old school Royal Rumbles are awesome. Like, if you ever get nostalgic for old like WWF stuff, those are I usually wind up either watching an old Royal Rumble or an old Survivor Series, because like everybody's on the show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see like all the guys you remember from when you were young. Yeah, that first Royal Rumble was awesome, and that was during a really interesting period in like the feud between WWF and WCW, or Jim Crockett Promotions, at the time. Because it was years before the Monday Night Wars, but it was like whenever WCW would have a pay-per-view, WWF would put like a big live special on USA, and when WWF would do a pay-per-view, WCW would do the same thing with a Clash of Champions. And so it's like you could either pay the pay-per-view and watch the paid show, or you could watch the other company if you had cable for free. You know, and and they did that 2 or 3 times before they finally sort of settled down and didn't do that as much anymore, and they just started each doing more pay-per-views. But it was a really fun time, because it was like, okay, am I going to pay like $20 to watch WrestleMania 4? And $20 seems like it might as well be free now, how expensive pay-per-views are. You know, am I going to pay $20 to watch WrestleMania 4, or am I going to watch Clash of Champions for free on TBS? You know, and that first Clash of Champions was awesome. So.
TBS ruined that shit. TBS ruined that shit because they got famous for putting on the replay, so you could always stay up till 1 in the morning and watch Clash of the Champions again.
Yeah, you could have your cake and eat it too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, both awesome shows. Royal Rumble '88 is a really cool show. Well, let's wrap it up, Doc.
Sure. Before we wrap it up, I'd like to say we do now officially have a Facebook fan page, and you can catch us over there at facebook.com/wrestling with wrestling. So I'll be posting up some random things on there and letting you know where when the shows are going to be, which I really don't because they're every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Posting old videos from kayfabe news, and if you want something to talk about that we should bring up on the show, you can post that right there. So get over there, like our new page. And we got asked about T-shirts, and well, we only have 21 likes right now on the Facebook fan page, so I don't really think that warrants putting money into buying T-shirts. But we'll talk about that at a later time.
Yeah. If you want T-shirts, then fucking tell your friends to watch the show.
Yeah. Right.
Because if there's a lot of people watching and they all want T-shirts, that's one thing. But if there's like 2 people who are like, I'll wear a T-shirt. No, thanks. Go check out the Facebook page because it's brand new, and if you like the show, I think you'll dig it. It's a great way to interact with us and with other people who watch the show. So, that's it for this week, everybody. We'll be back next week to talk some more shit about Raw, about the build to Money in the Bank. Is Daniel Bryan going to make it? Is it going to be the Money in the Bank match for the title or for Money in the Bank? Does it even matter who wins Money in the Bank? It's going to be awesome. Another hour and a half or so of Wrestling with Wrestling. We'll go back and talk about another Legend of the Week next week. And it'll be a good show, as always. So thanks for watching, Doc. Thank you, as always, for joining me, my friend.
Thank you for having me, Steve. It's always an honor to be working with such a master like yourself.
I was gonna say, it's always nice when the guy whose channel hosts the show has never stepped foot in a fucking wrestling ring, and the co-host is the fucking veteran of like 18 years.
You say how I'm leaning. I got a bad.
He knows about the business. Anyway, we'll be back next week. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks, guys.